Hanson.
Thank you very much. Well, I'm going to provide a window into the feelings of one of our teachers. Dear Senator Hanson, I'm writing as a passionate frontline educator who's fed up. The 2025 changes to the Western Australian Humanities and Social Sciences HASS curriculum are not just disappointing, they are a disgrace. They represent a calculated, slow-burning dismantling of everything that once made Australian education proud, grounded and worth fighting for. What they're doing to our children's education is unforgivable. They're stripping out what it's meant to be Australian, piece by piece, quietly behind the backs of the very people expected to implement it. Here's just a taste of what's been completely removed from the curriculum: who can become an Australian citizen and what rights and responsibilities come with that. The roles of police, judges and legal personnel, the people who keep this country safe. What it actually means to be Australian, our national identity, our shared values, our heritage. World War I and II, the Treaty of Versailles, the Great Depression, gone.
What's your view on this exchange? Drop your thoughts in the comments and join the discussion. Do you agree, disagree, or see it differently?
Civil rights movements erased. Ancient history, national heroes, social justice, responsibility, freedom, sacrifice, all gutted. This is not education, it's indoctrination through omission. They're teaching kids nothing of value. They want children to learn about scarcity in economics before they learn how to make a budget, how to save money, or how people live and retire in Australia. They've removed content on how retirees earn income. No mention of superannuation, the age pension, or the value of hard work. So kids won't understand how their country works, or how their money works, or how their own future might work. And by the time anything interesting shows up in the curriculum, they've all been turned out, bored stiff, and convinced humanities and social sciences is a waste of time. Where's the national pride? Australia used to be proud of its story, the struggle, the conflict, the hard-earned democracy. But this new curriculum reads like a soulless, globalised spreadsheet designed to avoid controversy, history or truth. They've even burned or erased the Eureka Stockade, the Pinjarra Massacre, the Anzacs legacy in global conflict, the systems that underpin law and order. If our children don't learn who we are, how we got here and what we stand for, then who exactly are we raising? This is not about education, it's about control. These changes just don't reflect bad decisions. They reflect a system that doesn't trust its citizens, doesn't value its traditions and doesn't care what parents or teachers think. We're being given a lifeless curriculum that will raise a generation of students who know nothing about how the world really works, nor understand the country they live in. Our young Australians will have no respect for law, citizenship or democratic responsibility. It's disgraceful, dangerous, and it's happening now. This is not about left or right, this is about truth, history and national integrity. Real Australians are feeling ignored. This teacher is one of them.
What's your view on this exchange? Drop your thoughts in the comments and join the discussion. Do you agree, disagree, or see it differently?
As she's wanting our politicians and our educators to call out what is happening before we lose a whole generation to silence, confusion, and a curriculum that teaches them nothing of value about the country they call home. And that's her comments. These are mine. I'm reading the paper today. Former Alice Springs school principal Gavin Morris is up on 5 counts of unlawful assault because he had to hold a student in a bear hug to stop him from kicking a railing bar and had thrown chairs around the room. Our teachers have no control over the classroom. You've allowed this misbehaviour to go on. You've got no control. They're absolutely fed up. That's why teachers don't want to go into the teaching profession. We've allowed this behaviour to go on, and then that's why the teachers are leaving. Here's a principal can't control a child who's out of control in the classroom. You know what the teachers told me? They said if children start throwing around, we just get the richest kids out of the room, let them go berserk, and then we come in and clean up afterwards. Nothing's done. What an absolute mess. A mess with the curriculum, a mess with discipline, and a mess what we're teaching our kids is ridiculous and shame.
What you just watched wasn't just another speech from Pauline Hanson, that was a full-blown meltdown over what she's calling the complete collapse of Australia's education system. And the moment she started reading that teacher's letter, everything changed. Because this wasn't political spin. This wasn't rehearsed talking points. This was a frontline teacher basically sounding the alarm, saying the system is being dismantled piece by piece, and Hanson didn't hold back for a second. She read it exactly how it was written. A slow-burning dismantling, a disgrace, a system that is stripping away identity, history, and basic life skills. And here's the part that should really make people stop and think. Look at what she listed. Citizenship, gone. National identity, gone. World wars, the Great Depression, civil rights movements, gone. Not reduced, not adjusted, completely removed. And Hanson zeroed in on that point again and again. Gone, erased, gutted. That repetition wasn't accidental, it was the message. Because if even half of that is accurate, then this isn't just a curriculum update, this is a complete rewrite of what students are allowed to understand about their own country. But then she took it one step further, and this is where the entire thing escalated. She didn't just talk about curriculum, she linked it directly to classroom chaos. And suddenly, this wasn't just about what kids are learning, it was about whether teachers can even teach at all. A school principal facing assault charges for restraining a violent student. Think about that for a second. The person in charge of maintaining order is now the one being punished, while the student throwing chairs walks away untouched. And Hanson didn't soften that, she hammered it. Teachers have no control, no authority, no backup, and according to her, they're being told to just clear the room and clean up the mess afterward like it's normal. That's not a classroom. That's damage control, and here's where the argument becomes brutal. Hanson draws a straight line between the two problems, what's being taught and what's being tolerated. On one side, a curriculum, she says, removes discipline, responsibility, and national identity. On the other side, classrooms where discipline itself has completely collapsed. You don't need her to spell it out. The implication is obvious. A system that won't teach order can't enforce it either. Then came the most striking part of her entire statement. This is not education. It's control. That's the line. That's the moment everything shifts from criticism to accusation. Because now she's not just saying the system is failing, she's saying it's designed that way. And whether you agree or not, that's a serious claim. Because if the goal is no longer to educate, but to reshape what students think, what they value, and what they even know about their own country, then this stops being a policy debate and becomes something much bigger. She didn't end it quietly either. She stacked it up. Mess with the curriculum, mess with discipline, mess with the future. One after another, no pause, no relief. And that closing line, calling it ridiculous and shame, that's not analysis, that's a verdict. So what you're left with is this. A senator reading a desperate teacher's warning, backing it up with real-world classroom breakdown, and then accusing the entire system of failing a generation in real time. And whether people agree with her or not, one thing is clear. This wasn't a calm policy discussion. This was a warning shot.